Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of GM Fantasy. I'm Paul, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at my top 5 players to trade away ASAP. So let's take a look. Alright boys, so in this video, we're going to go over my top 5 players that I want you to trade away as soon as possible. It's not that these players are bad by any means, but I think they've reached the ceiling of their fantasy potential, and it's probably just going to get worse from here on out. So I'm thinking if we can possibly pivot to players with higher upside, or maybe even get some draft capital, or even a combination of the two, it's probably the best way to go moving forward. So we'll get into it right away. And first up, we're going to have Zay Flowers, wide receiver of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Flowers is the type of player that I cannot stand having in fantasy. 1 week he's going to go off for 150, 2 touchdowns, and then the next week he'll have 2 catches for 20 yards. He's just completely inconsistent, and it just drives you crazy trying to predict when he's going to go off. Now, granted, this year he had a pretty decent year. He had 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. So when you look at the numbers, it's not terrible. But to be honest, most of that came towards the end of the year, and it's just, if you can pivot to a different player like Igbuka or maybe even like a Ted McMillan with more upside, or maybe get some draft capital, like you might be able to get a mid first or a low end first, or maybe a couple of second round picks. I'd probably look to do that. He's just not the type of player that you want to have to deal with going forward. And there's rumors right now circulating that the Ravens might be looking to add AJ Brown in the offseason. And if that's the case, like, Lamar Jackson can barely sustain one fantasy wide receiver. So if AJ Brown comes over, Zay Flowers is just going to take an even bigger hit to his value. So if we can trade him away now, I would definitely look to do so. So next up, we're going to have Chris Olave, wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints. Now, just like Zay Flowers, I think he's the exact same type of player. 1 week he's going to blow up, the next week he's going to disappear on you. So why are we giving ourselves the headache? If you have him for best ball, that's fine. He's going to give you those spike weeks that you need. But if you're in a managed league, I would definitely try to pivot away from him. If you can get maybe like the players I mentioned before, Igbuka or Ted McMillan, his value's never been higher. The last stretch of games he had were fantastic. He won a lot of people their playoffs or even their best ball tournaments. So if you are able to get a first round pick for him or a first plus, I would definitely look to do so. Another thing that scares me about Olave is his medical history. The guy's 1 concussion away from retiring, and not to mention now he's got blood clots. So this could definitely linger into next season. He might miss a few weeks. He might be forced to retire early. So I would just hedge my bet on this guy. If you have him, look to get, something for him. Don't give him away for nothing, because he definitely has some value. But if you're able to get like a first round pick plus for him, I would definitely look to move him. Before we get into the next player, guys, if you guys can do me a huge favor, especially if you guys are liking the content, if you guys can like the video, subscribe to the channel, maybe put some comments in the comments section. I would really like to get this channel growing, and I definitely need your guys' help to do so. So if you guys can do that for me, it would be greatly appreciated. And don't forget, we still got that free contest going on. Stick around to the end of the video for the details. So next up, we're going to have Trevor Lawrence, quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you guys have been watching my videos, I'm a huge hater of this guy. I think he's a complete fraud. But I can't deny that he's had some pretty big fantasy performances over the last few weeks, which is exactly why I think now's the best time to trade him away while his volume's as high as it is. I know you guys are thinking, Liam Cohen's there, he's going to elevate his game. I don't think so, man. I think he's going to come back down to earth. Even just like in the last playoff game, I feel like he didn't play that well. He just doesn't pass my eye test. He makes one read, and if he doesn't like it, he just immediately runs. He's inaccurate. He takes big hits when he runs. He's an injury away from, missing multiple games in my mind. So if you guys can make a package, maybe get some draft capital for him, or, maybe try to trade for like Bo Nix or Caleb Williams, make a package for those guys, I would definitely try to do so. He's just, like I said, he doesn't pass my test, and I think he's a fraud of a quarterback. So next up, we're going to have DeAndre Swift, running back of the Chicago Bears. Now, when it comes to Swift, it might be a little more tricky what his value is going to be. I think it's going to really be based on what his situation is next year. Is he going to be on the Bears, or are the Bears going to cut him? Monangai just came out of nowhere and ended up, splitting carries with him towards the end. And I think that Ben Johnson is leaning towards Monangai. And considering he was a 7th round pick, he'll be cheap. And they might just cut DeAndre Swift to save some cap space. Swift had a great year. 1,000 yards. I think he had 9 touchdowns. A little bit of receiving. So, but he's getting up there in age. So if I can maybe pivot to a different player, someone like maybe like a Javonte Williams, I think would be a good comp for him. I would definitely make that trade. It just seems everywhere Swift goes, he starts off well, and then for some reason he pisses off the coaching staff, and he ends up getting relegated to bench duty or a 50-50 split at best. If you guys are able to pivot from DeAndre Swift, I would definitely do so. So last up, we're gonna have George Kittle, tight end of the San Francisco 49ers. This one pains me to talk about because I'm a huge Kittle fan. But at 32 years old, just tearing his Achilles, it's not looking good. There's already reports saying that he's going to miss a huge chunk of the 2026 season, if not the whole thing. So that means he'll come back healthy at 33 years old. And, after an Achilles tear, they never come back, the first year the same. So I'm thinking, his value is going to take a huge hit when he eventually comes back. So if you guys are able to cash in now on his name value, I would definitely look to do so. If you guys can get maybe someone like a Gadsden or a Kincaid or a Ferguson, I would definitely make that trade. If you guys can get some draft picks, I would even take like a second round pick for him at this point because he's definitely not going to be ready to start the year. He'll probably miss the entire year. So if you guys can get anything for him, do it. As painful as it is, Kittle's a great player. He's going to go down as one of the greats, but his value's done for fantasy in my mind, and just get something for him while you can. So that's going to be my top 5 players that I want you to trade away as soon as possible. If you guys can get as much as you can for these guys right now while, the value is still high for them, while the perception is still high on them, do it now because I promise you the values will start to go down. So get as much for them as you can. And I think, your team will be better for it. And don't forget, guys, we still got that free contest going on. It is a free $50 entry into the next subscriber league on League Tycoon. It's a contract league. Super simple to enter. All you're going to have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, put the word subscribed in the comment section. You're then going to send a screenshot of that to me either on my X account or my Gmail address. I'll get back to you letting you know you've been entered into the contest. And then we'll have a draw on August 1st to determine the lucky winner. And guys, if we get to 1,000 subscribers, I will sponsor an entire league. So we'll have 9 winners plus myself in a 10-man league. It's free to enter. Don't miss out on your chance, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.